Happy New Year, baby! Yes, we made it to another year, and we can now say we've had a podcast for 2 years. Tyler, Happy New Year, man.
Let's get through 2 episodes before we say 2 years.
No, I'm going to say 2 years. I feel like it sounds more credible when people are like, "Hey, how long have you been doing this podcast?" Well, it's been going for at least 2 years.
Year. Yeah,
it's our second year. That's what you got to say. That's what you got to say. Looks, that's like we're fluffing our resume, you know,
Just a
like we're trying
bit.
to. Wait, are you applying for other podcasts?
Who told you?
All right. Jeez, we're going to have to talk about that later. But it's the first movie Propcast of 2022, and I'm super excited. It's a little topical. I know that we're a little delayed on the release, but we're doing the OG Spider-Man, the Tobey McGuire 2002 Spider-Man 1. And it is a little topical, obviously, because No Way Home, Spider-Man No Way Home has released last month, and we've both seen it, and you won't get any spoilers for that on this podcast here. Maybe down the line we'll dive into that movie when it comes out, and it's a little more accessible, but it's hard to take notes in a dark movie theater.
I was thinking if we did decide at one point to do like this in series chunks, I mean, Spider-Man wouldn't be a bad series to do.
No, I totally agree. I don't think that we would do them consecutively, but I do think we could. I mean, we could go all day. Every MCU movie, it would be disgusting. But
like we just do Marvel month, like May.
We're just exhausted every day. We're like, all right, we're on movie 34. You keeping up? Okay. No. I'm excited to do this one. It was obviously really fun to go back and watch. With knowing that everything that we know now, I mean, the way Spider-Man Spider-Man is, to me, is that kind of the face of the MCU? Like, just Marvel in general now?
Honestly, so I'm a person who has a very hard time, like, saying definites and, like, saying my favorites. Like, if you say, I'm a big movie person. If you say, name your top 5 movies, I will panic and forget every movie I've ever seen.
I do the same.
And then one day, I was like, who is my favorite hero? And everything just kept coming back to Spider-Man. And I hated feeling like it was very basic. But there's just, like, his villains, his storylines, his suit. I grew up watching the TV show. Like, everything just kept coming back. And that's, like, one of the very few definite favorites I guess I can say I have. It's like, I want to say I guess already.
You're still waffling. Just commit. It's okay.
He is my favorite hero.
Yes, I can agree with you there. I mean, especially if you say, well, who's your favorite Marvel? Like, it's a no-brainer. Like, I've always grown up like a DC fanboy.
Okay.
But I've almost been beaten down by the stuff that they're putting out, and I'm just kind of to the point where I'm like, I think I'd love Marvel more now. And that's honestly the first time I think I've ever said that out loud. Oh, so that's a first. Enjoy that.
I'm glad I was here for you. I'm glad I could be there.
You ripped it out of me. But Spider-Man has always been my favorite. Like you said, the Spider-Man animated series from the 90s, I grew up on that, and I still watch to this day. I'll go back, and I think it's on Disney+. You can watch the original 90s Spider-Man series. It was so freaking good.
I recommend
and, like,
it.
The X-Men.
I recommend it for everyone watching or listening both. Please just do yourself the favor. If you enjoy any of these movies, even if you're not a cartoon person, like, they were way beyond their years.
Right, and they were deep for, like, Saturday morning cartoons. Like, we're talking, like, this is some serious stuff that was going on. But anyway, are we doing a Spider-Man animated series? Propcast?
I would definitely.
I don't know how we would do that, but
I would love to.
No, we're doing Tobey McGuire. We're going back to 2002. Well, now that it's 2022, this is exactly 20 years now. 20 years ago, this movie came out, which is crazy to me. Are we old?
Doyle, so I have a question. I'm gonna bypass your question.
Okay.
And do you remember where you were the first time you saw this movie?
Wow, man.
Not everyone remembers these things, and you probably shouldn't. But I
don't. I honestly don't. I mean, I was 12, dude. Like,
yeah. Like you, I was 12, but I can remember. So there was a drive-in by my home where I was growing up. And I've been to that drive-in dozens of times. Like, I've seen at least 20 movies. I couldn't tell you a single one except this movie, because I still have memories of watching this movie at the drive-in, and it's crazy that that's the only thing I remember.
Right. Well, I mean, it was so good. I mean, like, I'm not going to say it was the first time we'd seen a superhero movie done right, because it's kind of like it was like one of the first superhero movies that I can even really remember.
Before this, we had like 4 Batman movies, like
like the '90s Batman.
Yeah, we had '90s Batmans, which later on we'll talk about. I feel like you could feel that in this movie. We had, I think, 1 Blade movie before this, and that doesn't even count as a superhero movie.
It took me. I mean, until like maybe a little bit ago, just a few years ago, to realize, oh wait, that's technically like a Marvel. Like, you know what I mean?
Blade was the first
I mean, you
Marvel.
get him in the animated series too. I think the animated series he pops up, but it's just like such a quick. It's not obviously not about him, but it's weird that he's in the MCU. Well, not in the MCU, but
if you give a quick research sidetrack, people argue that's what saved Marvel, Blade. So
I mean,
later
that was
on,
right around the time that they were filing for bankruptcy, right? I think that was it. That was like their last hurrah.
Yeah.
And I mean, here we are now. They're like the biggest thing on the planet.
So it was hard for me watching this movie because I wanted to be objective, and I got so wrapped up in nostalgia the entire time. Like, I wanted to be objective. I wanted to look at this, but I knew I was going to be too harsh, and I turned into a 12-year-old again watching this movie.
Right. Okay. So, I mean, obviously, if you've listened to the movie Propcast, we do get into eventually. We'll get into the draft of the props from this movie, and there's some bangers in here. All right, there's some monsters.
God, this might be one of the best drafts early pick drafts we've had in a while.
Yeah, and they're honestly, but at the end there wasn't a whole bunch. Like there wasn't a lot. Like I think we're each picking 3, so there's gonna be 6 total picked. But the ones that are gonna get picked are all amazing.
I was happy with my top 4, arguably all of mine. But
I will say right now, I do get the first pick.
And you know what?
I nominated it.
At first, I was upset, and then I saw my number 2, and I was like, you know what? It's fine. Like, it's gonna hurt. Right. I'm gonna visit your house to see this number 1 prop.
Well, you don't know what I'm picking.
I don't know what you're picking, but I have a feeling of.
Now you know how I feel every time we've done a movie that you've nominated, and I'm like, I wonder what you're gonna pick. Oh, the title of the movie. Okay. No. So we'll get into the draft here a little bit later. We'll talk more about the props and everything, and how well done I think a lot of the things were in this movie. But there's a couple things that I write down notes. You said you were feeling nostalgia. Obviously, I was too. But nostalgia doesn't stop me from crapping on some things that are. You know what I mean? I don't want to crap on the movie. I don't want to tear apart the movie because I do think it was awesome. It was amazing for its time, and the sequel probably better. I think the sequel is better, right?
So, yes, the sequel is better.
Right, but there again, it's 20 years ago. The acting and the way the writing is done, like just dialogue between characters and maybe love interests.
Yes.
There's not a lot of depth to any of that.
No,
not a lot of depth.
And that's what hurts this movie is just that it was made 20 years ago. Like, honestly, you watch this movie 20 years ago, it's amazing. You watch it now with everything they've built up. Like, we just went through arguably the best 15 years of superhero movies ever. Not arguably, it is. Like,
it is. Yeah.
And then you watch this and you're like, oh, that's where we started. But, like, you had to have the building blocks. You had to.
I immediately, when it was high school, you see these high school students that all none of them look under 30. Not a single one look under 30. And I immediately, like, that's one thing now, especially in the new Spider-Man movies.
Yes.
They all do look like high schoolers. You know, they look young.
Yes.
Which, I mean, it's not a hard thing to do. I guess back then, they're just like, get an adult so we don't have to deal with it.
I was going to say, back then, it's a risk. Because who wants to see a bunch of no-names? Like, I mean, Tobey McGuire wasn't much before this, but, like, I feel like going with the older, you're getting a good actor when you go older. Right.
Yeah, I mean, but again, like some of the one-off, like the Flash character.
Oh, Joe Manganiello?
Not a fan, bro. Not a fan.
He's 40 in this role.
He honestly looked, it was disgusting. I don't know. And Kirsten Dunst, I mean, she is obviously Mary Jane. She's the love interest in the whole series.
Yes.
Meh.
So I have a friend who's currently going through, she just recently went through all the Marvel movies. She just jumped onto Spider-Man. And I told her ahead of time, I was like, look, I am not in love with Kirsten Dunst as Mary Jane. Her acting was meh. And I just personally think they could have gone better. And then I start this movie yesterday. And the nostalgia comes in, and all I could say is, "Oh my God, she's so pretty," and then that's it.
That's it. That's literally and it feels bad. I mean, like, because again, Tobey McGuire didn't feel great in this movie either, acting wise. So it's just once he puts the suit on, You don't even know if that's him under there. It's probably the stunt guy. But either way, I don't know. It just seems like their chemistry just never felt there.
No, but I have a question though. So think 2002. I'm in the shower before we start recording. I'm thinking, who else is a big actress in 2002? I could think of Eliza Dushku. I could think of Sarah Michelle Gellar, and that's about it. Right?
Yeah.
Like, do you have anyone else? So I decided to look up who was up for the role, and a favorite before this was Kate Hudson, who fits the age range, and I look at her. My thing with Kirsten Dunst is, as very pretty as she is, she's a little more plain than I would expect a Mary Jane to be. Like, in the comics, Mary Jane's, like, drop-dead gorgeous. And Kate Hudson kind of has, like, she has a more pronounced face structure that makes her more beautiful than pretty, and I think she could have done good.
Yeah, and it really, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and judge based off of looks.
Very true.
But I'm just saying, like, just acting and just the vibe I was getting from them, it just, A, didn't feel like high schoolers, and B, didn't feel like anybody really had a connection with anyone. Like,
no.
All the relationships that were happening. Well, why was, I mean, obviously she's obviously used to some sort of verbal abuse. Living with her father. Every scene was just her getting yelled at.
I think every scene with a man is her getting yelled at.
Yeah. Outside of Tobey. Outside of Tobey McGuire, outside the Spider-Man.
Every man is over here just, like, giving her crap about something. Like, every scene, it's terrible.
Yeah, and he's at the diner, too. The diner guy comes out. He's like, you're $6 short. He's like screaming at her.
Even Harry, her boyfriend's like, hey, why didn't you wear the black dress? Because I like red. Well, I want to impress my dad. Like, why are you giving her crap about the dress?
She's an object. She's an object
terrible.
In this movie, which is sad. But anyway, that being said, the high schoolers, to me, immediately pulled me out of it. They just look like they're senior citizens. The scene at the high school, after he gets his powers. Actually, you know what? Let me not even get into that yet. I don't want to walk through this movie, but there's a few things I want to hit.
Yeah.
Okay. He gets bit by the spider, right? Let's just get into that. He gets bit by the spider.
Yes.
Continues on with his day. Goes home after school, right? We're thinking what time you get home from school? Maybe like 3, 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We'll say 3, 4, whatever. Goes right to his bedroom. Aunt May, Uncle Ben. Just like, okay, whatever. Yeah, that was weird. They don't revisit or go to see this young man until the following morning. They leave him unconscious on his floor from 4 o'clock in the afternoon to school the next morning. They didn't even care to check. Yeah. What's up with that? I didn't even realize how weird that was.
I loved how, like, doting and caring they made Aunt May and Uncle Ben. Like, it hurt me seeing them in the opening scene because I knew what was coming later on. Okay, well, and they're just so sweet. I think they were too much into that. Oh, give him his privacy. He's a young boy.
Yeah,
he's going
puberty.
Through changes. Yeah. He's going through changes. I think they were just giving him a little too much privacy, and I agree with you. Did you see the size of that bite when he pulled his sheets over him?
Unbelievably large.
It was the size. I actually saw online. I've been getting a lot of things about Spider-Man 1. It was the size of a jawbreaker.
Yeah, like, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that somebody would, like, honestly, I don't want to diagnose his mental health, but he chose death. He chose death.
100%.
He said, I don't want to go to get this checked out. I'm not going to tell anybody about this. I will die here on the floor of my bedroom without going.
I don't know why you get bitten and don't tell a single person. You know that these spiders are being scientifically experimented on. Like, they said out loud, Mary Jane said there's 14 or 15, and the woman was like, oh, I guess one is missing. So you know there's a radioactive scientific spider, and you get bitten, and you're like, all right, that's cool. That's
right.
That's
so listen, I would expect that behavior from us after watching Spider-Man on the film. If we get bit by a spider and it does that, we're like, let's see what happens in the morning.
I'll give it a day.
let's check it out tomorrow and see where we're at. But in this, he doesn't have criteria to go off of. He's dying.
Yes.
And he's accepted that. And that is also another thing that I was like, bro, he just, like, I don't want to get into, like, the mental health part, but he just chose death. And that was weird to me that all went down like that. But yeah, like you said, that thing was massive. It was enormous.
Gigantic.
And he just did nothing about it. So that was weird. And then one more thing on Aunt May and Uncle Ben. Yes, they probably did let him go a little too far, let the leash go a little bit too far with him. but also they were old.
So old.
So old. To the point where he says his age aloud.
Yeah.
68 years old. Uncle Ben. Uncle. Not grandpa. Uncle Ben. That triggered in my head the math here. Okay? 17 or 18-year-old Peter Parker. He's in his senior year, right? He graduates in this film. Okay?
Yes.
This man, 68 years old.
Yes.
We're talking 50 years. Is that? Am I doing the math? No.
Yeah, 50 years old.
No, the age gap.
Oh, between Uncle Ben and Peter?
Yeah. Is that 50 or
Yeah,
so
50.
Okay. I'm just trying to figure out how old his parents are.
So you could say that they would be the same age, but my brother and I have a 10-year age gap. So say Peter was conceived when Uncle Ben was 50, it's possible Peter's parents were 40.
Right. Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, listen. I was, the most I was giving it was like maybe 6 to 8 years difference, but like, damn. They lived. His parents lived a full life. Not, I'm gonna say a full life. 40 years isn't a full life, but they did a lot before they had Peter. That's never obviously explained, and I think in Amazing Spider-Man they do visit the parents stuff in the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man.
They do,
But yeah, this one I was just like the math. Your aunt and uncle are almost 70 years old,
and
you're graduating high school.
The thing is, like, I almost would argue against that casting, but the animated series that we watched, Aunt May is also pretty elderly.
Right. The cast almost looks like they just ripped it from the animated series. They were like, let's try to revisit. Let's try to do that.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that's what I liked about the newer MCU. How they got Marissa Tomei, and you're like, okay, that aligns. You know what I mean? That checks out.
They tightened up the age gaps just a little bit.
Yeah, they're not like blatant AARP members. I don't know. It is what it is.
You did mention the Tom Holland Spider-Man. The street corner at the very beginning where Peter's bus stop is, the opening street corner, I'm pretty sure is the same street corner from Tom Holland's. It's like a grocery store or bodega he goes to. And it looks like, I didn't look this up. I probably should have. So, like, quick research. I'm pretty sure it's the same. It looks almost exactly the same.
I mean, yeah, it is all in New York City. So, I mean, it is kind of cool that they would kind of use not the source material, but to go back and be like kind of just do some shots from the original that they already kind of had. But I thought that was pretty sweet. So,
yes.
Any other notes? I mean, I have a couple, but I mean, notes from the film that before we get into the draft, obviously we're gonna go into that. But
you mentioned that these relationships are terrible.
Yeah.
Why from the beginning? Like, I understand Harry's having a hard time fitting in his old school, but he has like this new best friend Peter. He immediately, like, we know Harry for 5 minutes before he hits on his best friend's crush using his best friend's lines.
Not a good move, bro.
And then later on, years later, they end up dating, and he keeps the whole thing a secret from his best friend. Like,
yeah, and they live together.
Like, I don't think, other than Peter and Aunt May, I don't think there, and obviously Peter and Uncle Ben, there wasn't really a healthy relationship in this movie.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, like, everything's so shady.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I 100% agree. I just feel like we said with the cast, I don't know if it was casting or just the writing. I mean, it's probably both.
Yes.
But nothing really felt warming.
One thing.
Oh,
I have a bit of casting gold. Two bits of casting gold.
I can't help but feel like I know where you're going with this.
Well, first off, our friend Mr. J.K. Simmons.
Oh my God.
Amazing.
He's amazing.
As John Jonah Jameson, incredible.
That's top 5 casting, like, all time. I mean, just characters like dude was born to do.
Yes,
for sure.
like he almost got the Robert Downey Jr. treatment, where I feel like the comics looked more like J.K. Simmons than him looking like the comics afterwards.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And then other number 2 casting gold, Willem Dafoe was absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
As the Goblin for me. I don't know how you felt about it, but I would commit to an insane asylum after this movie, because
honestly, no one would have, especially that time. I mean, no one would have done that better. I mean, no one would have done that better than him. I didn't really know anything about him. Obviously, I was a young kid anyway, but I saw this guy, and just no, he's a crazy person. You just like that dude, and he has the look. He's got the crazy
Yes.
eyes. He's got it all. He's got the scary grin. Like his grin was
Yes.
nightmare fuel. So
Yes.
yeah, you could tell when he's switching back and forth between these personalities. It's awesome.
I love the mirror scene where he's talking to himself and he's switching between like the crazy and then the scared. Oh my god!
I looked at it.
So
I
good.
definitely looked at it closely. Obviously, I've seen this movie 100 times, but I looked at it a little more closely, and just to see if like it was. They did two scenes, you know what I mean? Where he's talking to himself and it's not him. But if you look at him walking and approaching the mirror, he's doing it. He's talking the whole time. It's not like he's seeing himself. You know what I mean? Like they'll do mirror scenes and it's a completely different shot. Like they're just like talking to each other. This is him saying everything to himself in the mirror. It's like really weird.
It was
very
incredible. I like Willem Dafoe just blew me away in this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to revisit Jameson real quick. One little thing I wrote down when Green Goblin busts into...
I have that capitalized.
When he busts into Jameson's office, right?
Yes.
And after he's obviously just got done crapping on... It's every scene he's crapping on Spider-Man. He comes in and Goblin just comes in and immediately is like trying to figure out who gets the photos for Spider-Man. How is he getting those Spider-Man photos? The fact that Jameson didn't rat him out.
Yes.
When all signs pointed to he was the slimiest guy in the world.
Yes.
That made me feel so good.
I got warm
loved
fuzzies. That. Yes.
I was like, you little rat,
you care about someone, you little skit.
No, it was awesome. I thought I never noticed that. I never really paid attention to that, and it is cool to know that a character that has that much animosity towards just people, all people. They're all just everybody's like a resource. You know what I mean? He's like the original Thanos. But I don't know. I just thought that was a beautiful little scene where again he's just bitter the entire movie.
Yes.
But when it comes down to it, he protects his own. You know what I mean? I thought that was kind of awesome.
Yes, after ripping them off, because
all I
know is if I come in with like 8 photos of someone no one's taken a photograph of, and you try to give me $300, I'm saying $100 a photo. Like that's one thing about this Peter. If we're just comparing Peter Parkers, like this Peter was very much the doormat, where the other two did not let that happen.
Right. So like in the beginning when he does the Macho Man Randy Savage fight. Rest in peace, Randy Savage.
Oh yeah,
yeah. He's 3. It was Bonesaw, right?
Bonesaw's ready.
Yeah. So he said he 3 minutes, $3,000, and he gets screwed out of that, right? He gets one. I was that even fair? Even if it was 2 minutes, give him a 2/3.
Thirds, yeah, $2,000.
Not $100, bro. I'd be throwing hands with this guy. Are you kidding me?
Yes,
immediately.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't understand that. And another thing about that scene while we're on it. When the guy comes in and robs him immediately after he walks out with the $100, this man is armed. He's got a gun.
Yes.
And the police officer's like, why didn't you stop him? Why didn't you? If I see somebody running down the hallway with a gun and a bag of money, bro, I'm hitting the deck. I'm like cowering. I'm in the fetal position. What did you expect from this guy?
Yeah, so he drop-kicked Randy Savage 10 minutes ago. I do not think that means he could fight an armed man.
Yeah, I just don't understand. Especially as a police officer, you know what I mean? Like, this is a kid. This is obviously a kid.
Yes.
What do you think he's supposed to do? You're going to shame this young boy for not clotheslining a guy with a gun? Like, I don't know. If it was Spider-Man, if he was in the suit and everybody knew it was Spider-Man, and he didn't do it, then you'd be like, bro, what are you, like, an evil person? But he's just a high schooler.
Yeah, he's just
I don't know how you could expect that of that. Anyway, that was funny to me, that cops, and everybody was just like, what are you doing? The line, you're seeing a lot of memes nowadays, too, where it's like, I missed the part where that's my problem.
Yes.
It's one of the funniest lines in the whole world. And there's like a whole series of YouTube videos where people are editing that line and like Spider-Man 3 Peter Parker. Just that mean Peter Parker is like the funniest thing, and that's going online right now. If you check it out on YouTube's, the old YouTuber, which by the way on YouTube, now that we're on that subject, search the movie Propcast and hit us with a subscription over there. That'd be great.
Yeah, you get to see our beautiful faces. You get to see Doyle dressed up as Spider-Man. You get to see a little bit of my Spider-Man T-shirt.
That's one of my top 5 favorite Spider-Man shirts. I have a couple Spider-Man shirts, but that is awesome. I love that design. Very, very sudden. And again, if you're listening to audio right now, you're forced You
gotta
have
go
to
see.
go
Yeah,
to our
gotta go
YouTube
see.
channel.
I'm not even going to describe it. We're just going to move on.
It's a Spider-Man shirt, and I'm wearing a Spider-Man. It's the next best thing. If you're not going to get the actual like real Spider-Man outfit, this is the next best thing, I think, right? Like I can go out on the streets and fight some crime, I feel like.
You could definitely go on the street and get yourself hurt wearing that. I agree.
So I mean, if I pull this down over my eyes, no one's going to know who I am, so it's cool. Right.
At least one person should know that mouth, as we already talked about in Jingle All the Way.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's fair. My wife. Well, you know what? That leads me to another question. Again, we don't have to deal with that now because Spider-Man's a full mask. But would you be able to recognize someone just their mouth? If they didn't have facial hair?
Are we talking like? Are we talking what Arnold Schwarzenegger wore? Or are we talking like the alleyway upside down kiss?
Okay. Let's do alleyway upside down kiss. Like if somebody pulled the mask up to just the chin, would you be able to recognize? Like what's the threshold of relationship that you would be able to
I mean,
recognize?
I obviously would be able to get my wife.
Right.
100%.
Like coworker or like somebody you went to high school with, like.
It'd be tough. If it was someone I saw every day, okay. But the relationship that I think Mary Jane and Peter had at that time, I don't think so.
I thought it was weird how it was like they alluded to they were neighbors since they were kids, but they had just told each other that their senior year of high school, like they never knew.
Yeah.
That was kind of weird. Like everything just happened.
He knew.
Oh, of course he knew. His bedroom window was right into hers. This little creep was probably watching all day.
Which is crazy how she probably never looked through that window once. Like this kid was very invisible to her.
Yeah.
Very invisible.
Poor little Peter.
And I have a gripe now.
Oh, you want to do it? Let's go.
Mary Jane, as much as I wanted to defend Mary Jane, because she's one of my favorite, love interests out of all superheroes, what they did to her in this movie, where Mary Jane is in this relationship with Harry that she is not happy with, and then she openly flirts with Peter.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So Peter comes in to ask how her audition was. She openly flirts with Peter, and then 10 minutes later kisses Spider-Man. So she went from Harry to flirting with Peter, and let's just say the kiss happened because of adrenaline, but there's just so much that happened in that span of time that is just absolutely insane.
She is obviously a hopeless romantic, right? So I mean, she's just looking for whatever, and I will say she's got a weird way to say thank you, just a different kind of thank you.
Why did he trust her?
What do you mean?
Why she could have ripped that mask off and ran away.
Oh, dude, it was there. The section you could cut the sexual tension with a butter knife. All right, I'm just saying he was like I'm not going to say a position of power, but he just saved her life, and he's like, let me ride this out. Let me see where this is going to go. Right? Let me see where this is going to go. Also, I just don't understand how you go from like a thank you to not even just a peck on the lips or a peck on the cheek would have been, I think, more appropriate. Like a little like just a cheek kiss. They're just full on making out.
Yeah, like Lois Lane would have pecked Superman on the cheek, and Mary Jane just went in for it.
She's like, I'm going to tell everybody about this. If Twitter was around, she'd be like, tweeting a storm up.
We didn't need Twitter, because do you remember the hype over this kiss during... I don't know if you remember, but this was a thing.
Yeah.
Like, this was on TV shows. I remember the OC did an episode where they did an upside down kiss. Like, upside down kissing was the thing after this.
Right,
movie.
and I don't want to get into like your love life, but I can tell you it's not a practical way to kiss. It really isn't. Not a practical way. It's just really strange, okay?
It is. I just can't believe without like we had the internet, but we didn't have social media back then. And this thing was just like things just still exploded like wildfire back then. Yeah.
It was like all the award shows were like, let's recreate it. And
yeah.
Yep. It was good. I don't know what else I have. The Thanksgiving dinner was just an awkward event. Like you said, everyone's yelling at Mary Jane. That wound up happening there. Thanksgiving dinner made me super uncomfortable. I don't even know why that even happened.
I was only uncomfortable for one reason. Norman Osborn put his fingers in the sweet potatoes, and like
who does
he didn't care. Like he put 3 whole fingers in the sweet potato up to the first knuckle.
Here's my
And no one yelled at him. I mean, Aunt May yelled at him.
Aunt May was looking at him
but
like,
everyone else was
me?
just gonna let him do it.
I mean, what are you gonna do? Dude's like a millionaire. Like, what are you gonna say?
No.
I guess, yeah, that's what you could say. But yeah, it is. That's probably like the most psychotic thing he did the entire movie. Like, it really, like, Norman Osborn in this movie did a lot of weird stuff. That's probably the weirdest. I don't know why he would think that was a good idea. He just, I've never thought, hey, here's a hot plate of sweet potatoes. Let me just jam my fingers in it. I don't know. Also,
what are you even grabbing? Sweet potatoes aren't solid. Yeah.
He went marshmallows right on the top.
Like, if you grab something out of sweet potato, it's all mush. It's not like you're grabbing, like, a drumstick or a French fry.
You're asking for a mess, bro.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Imagine that happening, like, post-COVID movie. You know what I mean? We're like, bro, get out. What are you doing?
A scene like that never happens again now after COVID.
Probably not. That's like My Germs. Remember My Germs from like the little guy, the tiny hand in Scary Movie?
Oh yes.
He's like My Germs, and he just jams his hand in like the mashed potatoes, I think it was, or
and the turkey and
everything. Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. So Thanksgiving dinner scene just uncomfortable for everybody, I think, involved. But
yes.
Oh, one more thing about that scene. It wasn't even just the dinner. It was when they thought Peter Parker was home. Everybody in the house stormed upstairs and went into his room. What are you doing?
Why?
Imagine somebody does that. Like if you go to somebody's house, right? They invite you over for a dinner, and you hear you haven't seen them in like a little while, right? Maybe they stepped away, or you just hadn't seen them yet. They hadn't come down to hang out yet. You hear a bump upstairs. You gonna go storming into their room?
Yeah.
What? Privacy's not a thing in this movie.
I didn't get in that scene why Peter went back out the window. Like, his blood dripped, but he was not suspicious of Norman being the Green Goblin at that point. So, like, he's stuck to the ceiling, his blood drips, and then Norman goes to look up and Peter's gone. He went out onto the balcony. But why would he do that unless he thought Norman would expect that?
If he reacted to it, you know what I mean? Like, I think if anybody, even if it was Aunt May, I feel like he would have just bailed, right? Like,
I just didn't think it was that fast enough.
That was the weirdest blood drip I've ever seen in a movie, by the way. It looked like ketchup.
They were still perfecting it, man.
It was obviously CGI, but it was so thick.
I don't think we get, like, good blood until, like, 2004.
Probably. I don't know. It was weird. It was a weird drip for that little bit. It turned out to be like a splotch on the ground, like you spilled some ketchup or something. But
yeah.
Anyway, let's just get into it. I think we're about due. My pick's gonna be quick, baby. It's draft time, and I have the first overall pick. I'm not even gonna waffle, bro. I think we all know where I'm going with this. I want the OG, Tobey McGuire, Peter Parker, Spider-Man suit.
And
I want it clean. I just want it clean. I want it 100% total, not the end of the movies. I want the OG clean because I want to try it on.
Yeah,
I want to wear it, bro. I'm wearing this out and about.
I knew it was going number one. I didn't even have to think about it.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad we're all on the same page here. I know that when this happened in the Jumanji one, everybody knew where it was going. I thought maybe you'd subvert our expectations, and you didn't, and I'm not doing it here either, so it doesn't matter.
No,
so
we did do that in Dodgeball. Dodgeball was picked like 5th in Dodgeball.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But there wasn't really a lot of memorable ones there.
I mean, so if we're going this route, I mean, like Jingle All the Way, I got the good guy, you got the bad guy. It looks like we have to do a little flipperoo, and I'm just going to take the Green Goblin suit.
Right. That's
honestly, that was fire to me. I loved the Green Goblin.
They freaking crushed that thing. They crushed it. I love the way it looked. It is honestly, to me, it looks cooler than the Spider-Man suit. Because everybody's seen Spider-Man.
Yes.
But if you've never seen Green Goblin before and you saw him up in that, you're like, yo, this dude's kind of awesome.
Even like the small details, the teeth in it. I love the teeth. The eyes flipped up. Like,
how did you feel about like the cone head?
I felt like it was a little too coney. But honestly, it worked. Like with all the angles that the suit had, it just kind of worked. But it was a little too big on the head.
Yeah,
but I love the suit. So I'll let you go. I'll go with that. Honestly, the suit was my second pick, to be honest. But
really,
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, so let me just cross this off. I've obviously got this real Spider-Man suit. You got the Green Goblin suit. Now, we've got there's still some suits out there, right?
There are.
I'm not going to go a full set of Spider-Man suits. I'm just not
You could.
I don't want to do it.
The only reason I went with my pick was because I was afraid it was going to go number 2 for you, number 3 overall.
I can tell you confidently it would have. It would have been a no-brainer. Imagine standing them right next to each other, like collecting these suits. They're so a lot of the newer ones. Obviously, the Tom Holland one, I feel like is just flat. It's just fabric. Like this Spider-Man suit, and again the Green Goblin one, they put work into it. Like it's like there's like that rubber. It's like all these lines are just like this.
Yes.
I love that. I think that looks awesome.
And earlier I mentioned the Batman stuff and how I felt like it had an influence. Overall, I felt like there was a lot of Tim Burton type of influence in this movie. Like if you look at like the Michael Keaton movies.
Right.
And I just, even from like the sound effects and stuff like that, and I feel like we went away from that in the last 10 years, but early on when they were working on these, like, it was like, oh, Batman was successful. Let's do some of these things.
There was one shot where they showed Oscorp. And I was like, this looks like it's in the DC, like the 90s DC universe. Because it was green, it was dark, it was lit like it was a mansion, like a haunted mansion or something. I was like, all right. And then every other scene, it's fully lit. Like, it was just a weird, like, at this particular moment, it looked that dark. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and I'm not going to dilly-dally here too much. I'm just trying to get into it. You got the Goblin suit. Bro, I'm taking the glider.
I knew it. That was my number 1 pick.
But why did you take? Well, obviously, yeah. It
because
was your choice.
I wanted the suit. I knew I was either getting the glider or the suit.
I loved.
The glider was awesome.
The glider was amazing in this movie, but it's 2002, right? It's like in this world, they haven't really seen superheroes, right? They haven't really seen anything. Nobody gave a crap that this man invented a glider that was that functional and that responsive. It was like, oh, that's what that's what you got. Don't care. And meanwhile, they go to this quest business they're trying to make this, what is it, like knockoff, I'm going to say poor man's Iron Man suit.
Yeah, it was they called it the exoskeleton.
It looked so big and clunky, and they were more excited about that than this dude just invented flight on a hoverboard. Like, what are you doing? How is that not amazing?
The glider in this movie was absolutely incredible. I wanted to take a number 1, but I couldn't give you both suits. I just couldn't do that. That felt wrong.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm happy with the glider pick. The glider gave me one of my favorite moments of this movie.
Was it when Green Goblin dies? You're sick, bro. You're sick.
when they're throwing the big party and they have all the floats and everything, and Goblin's blowing up people and all that stuff, and Peter has to save Mary Jane. Peter goes under the glider and rips out the wires, and and Green Goblin just starts flying away, and he's like, "We'll meet again, Spider-Man."
I felt like I was on like a Universal ride.
You know what I mean? It gave me Inspector Gadgets again, like Claw. He's like, "I'll get you, Gadget."
Yeah, it really was like a Team Rocket blasting off again.
Yes.
Like it was one of those. Like it was so stereotypical. It was almost like they ripped it from the comics or just like a cartoon, like you said.
He just gave the fight up. He was just like, "Oh, whatever."
I'm only as good as my machine. Like, yeah, and it really was the case. Like, he was strong, right? But I mean, like hand to hand. Well, I guess they're both not exactly hand to hand.
I was going to say, what I loved about this movie was he gives it to Spider-Man.
Yeah, they were
he
both
gives him the business.
Yeah.
There was a point where I didn't think Spider-Man could possibly win, and I loved that. Like, that he was just ragdolling him.
He was a beast for sure. That whole, like, green smoke scene where he, like, for some reason had to take his shirt off. I don't know why. There was no reason for that. I guess just he wanted to flex. But yeah, when he gets his powers, and he immediately, the guy, I honestly think that scientist that was with him saved his life, right? He was flatlined, and he started pressing on his chest to revive him.
Yeah.
And he comes back and just meets immediate death. That was sad. Yeah. That poor guy.
This is your reward.
Yeah.
Death in my hands.
So without him, I mean, we don't even have a Goblin. So he really made this movie, if you really think he's the unsung hero. And I will say real quick, before we move on from the glider, its first reveal to the public eye, which was that like parade with the weird CGI balloons. I loved how I guess you could consider it product placement, but it is New York. There's advertisements everywhere.
Yeah.
But I loved how he took the time to make the lap around not one, but 2 sets of billboards before he actually interacted with people. It's like, hey, do you remember Singular?
Yes.
And then you remember Cup Noodle? Cup Noodle got a New York ad.
Yeah.
And then they buzz around, and there's another set of billboards to hit, and then he comes back, and then he interacts. I thought that was
think
awesome.
I saw Samsung too, and that's all I can remember. But in defense, as a New Yorker, I'm pretty sure Cup Noodle was up there for a while. Like, Cup Noodle's like legitimately a thing.
So it's like a
in
legendary.
Yeah.
Oh,
like
right.
Cup Noodle was on Times Square. That Coke was on Times Square. So like those things were up there for quite a bit.
Okay. I just love that they hit it twice. So they got a little bump in payment there, a little funding.
Yeah, so one last thing about this scene. Something I think eventually, we'll talk about this later on, that we might have to add to this podcast is a category of like dumbest person of the movie or least wit of the movie.
Right.
Because in this scene,
oh no,
Goblin flies through a big balloon and it is coming down slowly. It is coming down quite slowly, but fast enough or slow enough that you could definitely get away.
Right.
But little Billy decides he is going to stare up at this balloon coming at him at all of 2 miles per hour.
Right.
With his mother screaming in the background until Spider-Man yanks him away. Like, that scene, Billy could have gone away at any time.
I hear what you're saying right there, and I know exactly what you're talking about. And I did rewind it because I thought it was so stupid. Something happens between when the balloon pops and then they actually cut to him getting whisked away. Something heavy shows up, right? If you go back and watch it, it's just a balloon. Up until all of a sudden it's like a frame, they just dropped a metal frame out of nowhere.
There was like a billboard or something with the balloon, but Billy still could have moved. He just stared.
Bro. Yeah. He's like, oh my God. Like, maybe it was just cool to watch. Maybe the kid just loved like watching it. It was just like,
after this, I might have to just make a note in every movie we watch of the person with the dumbest scene in the movie.
I really thought you were going to say Mary Jane on that ledge.
No,
I thought
there's not much you could do.
Was there? I mean, like, it was falling for the entirety of the fight until the very end when he winds up catching her.
The thing is, like, I'd be afraid to move because what if her getting up and moving makes it fall faster?
That's I guess the conundrum, because as soon as it starts going, I mean, you're either falling to your death or you're trying to live. I would just get up and do everything I can to try to live. So
that's a good point.
I don't know. I mean, obviously, when there's a superhero down there, you might be a little more reluctant to make a move. You know what I mean? But it's tough. Without being in that scenario, I'm just saying. Right before, obviously, boyfriend of the year, you see Harry just jumps out. He's like, "Oh, you're staying here, not me." He gets off of that same piece right before.
He gets off, but he goes to try to help her again. He just gets knocked out.
Sure.
He tried.
Yeah, sure he did.
I wasn't a fan of Harry as a boyfriend either, but yes, it's my pick.
I don't think a lot of people are a fan of James Franco nowadays, but it is what it is.
I wanted to run this by you. Obviously, I knew you were going to say no ahead of time, but I have to bring it up. Stan Lee doesn't count as a prop, right?
He does not. I will say, if they did taxidermy him and put him in future MCU films as just like a stand-up, like just a human taxidermy, that you could then draft him. But until right now, no, he's still.
I saw him in this, and I got, oh man, that got me.
Yeah, I love that. I always love that.
You're gonna have to let me know if my next pick is something that is allowed.
Okay, I love this. This is good.
Yes. So you got the glider.
Right.
But something that stood out to me just as much as the glider are the pumpkin bombs.
Yes. Okay.
So if allowed, you let me know.
Right.
Am I allowed a pumpkin bomb? Because they kind of come with the glider, sort of.
No, I don't think they do.
Okay.
I'm willing to give you that because I have it on the list as a separate thing. I don't think you can say every bit. Like, I mean, the rockets that shoot out and the bullets that shoot out of the glider, sure. But like, he's chucking those things, and they're definitely standalone props. So
yes.
if you want those, they're on my list. I'll give them up.
The pumpkin bombs are dope. Everything in this movie was so good.
It was awesome.
Every pick I feel so good about.
Yeah, these are all obviously very good. Yeah, that's a good pick. That's probably where I would have gone next, to be honest, because I just think the design, obviously with the green, and didn't it have a hint of purple? Like it was.
It was all like orange or gold with some green. I don't know about the purple. I'd have to go back and
I feel
look.
like there was one. I don't know which one. One like literally just disintegrated a couple human beings. I was
yes,
like,
it wasn't
bro.
even an explosion. It was
Whoa.
a flash boom your skeleton.
What is that? What is that technology? It's
that
crazy. Yeah, you want the human disintegrator? You're sick, dude. You're messed up. All right. I mean, I don't know how long your list is. I initially, when we came in, we said we were going to do 6, right? I mean, like,
yeah.
But I'm having so much fun. Hold on. Let me write down your bombs here. If this is gonna be my last pick, it's gonna put a lot of pressure on me.
Really?
Is this what we're doing? We're doing 3 and 3, right? Is that what we're doing?
I
mean, I don't want to make it. I don't want to. If you don't have it on your list, if you don't feel comfortable, don't do it. But
let's make this the last. Let's make it the last one, and then we'll talk about.
Okay.
We'll talk about stuff after.
Damn.
This.
All right. This is tough. This is actually gonna hurt. Okay. So I can't do that.
Let's go for it, Doyle.
No.
Yes.
No. I'm not gonna sit here. No. I want it to be tough. So
okay.
let's just, something's going to get left off, and that's fine. I want it to be tough. I can't do this one now, even though I wanted it. I just feel like I can't. And it's, all right, I'm going to take, it's not really a suit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take the human spider.
I have that
outfit.
written down. I knew
the human spider outfit. I mean, it's
yes.
not. It isn't a suit. It's just him. It's just like a long sleeve shirt with some pants and some.
I mean, if you take the whole thing, because it's the pants, it's the sweatshirt,
right.
It's the the red ski mask.
Yeah.
I count that as a suit.
So I mean, to me, that's iconic because it's the first time you see him in the red and blue, and he does. I mean, I don't know where he got that spider stencil, but it's badass. That thing is awesome.
That was cool.
So yeah, I mean, I don't like the idea of taking 2 suits.
Yeah.
I just also don't like the idea of taking the other thing over this. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like that has to be picked. This thing needs a home. I'm not sure if you would have homed it or not, but
it's written. I have it written down.
Okay, so you say you have it written down, but you weren't upset. So I don't think that was where you were going with this last pick.
Well, because my last pick is more of like a funny me pick. Like my first 2 picks were like pure gold. This last one is just something that I find funny myself.
Okay, I'm listening.
But then, as you were discussing the human spider, I thought of one last thing that I could take, which would be awesome. But I'll leave that as an honorable mention.
Okay.
Because my last pick, I don't know if you remember this or caught a glimpse of it, but there was a yellow tapestry during the wrestling scene that said "Bonesaw, Master of Disaster."
I did not see that.
It was great. I wanted one of the Bonesaw saws. But then I saw that Master of Disaster sign, and I was like, I kind of want that.
Okay, now I get it. You're a big WWE fan, right? So
I am.
Yeah.
I
so
am.
I mean, Macho Man Randy Savage obviously was. I mean, he was pretty good. He was Macho Man Randy Savage in this movie. Like he was just him, but they just renamed him.
Yes.
He was awesome.
But can I guess your other pick? Because now I do have a genuine 4th pick that I would have picked.
Okay.
You
could.
Or do you? Yeah. So the last pick I just thought of that would have made a great 3rd pick would actually be Peter's sketchbook.
Okay, that was just under what I was gonna do. I thought that his sketch. All of a sudden, he's an amazing artist. Like we didn't even know. Like that. Those drawings were sick.
I forgot. Oh no.
Uh oh.
I didn't want that to be my 3rd pick. I just realized something.
What?
I was crossing off stuff on my list too, and I crossed off something, but you didn't say what it was, so I skipped over.
You take it back, bro. You can take it back.
Am
Listen,
I
it's not
allowed to?
set in stone yet. We're still recording this.
Okay,
it's going to be set in stone when it pops up on social media.
I completely gave it to you, and you'll know why when I explain it. My official 3rd pick is actually the spider that bit Peter.
Wait, that's not even real.
What do you mean?
That thing was CGI as hell.
No. I actually, just before this, I read a thing that they said that those are real spiders.
What? I thought for sure I left them off my list because for sure it looks like the whole time they were on the screen.
Right
CGI.
before this, it might have been a fake article. We could look it up.
Okay.
I got an article that said that those were real spiders used.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm happy to give it to you, and if it is real, I mean, that's an amazing pick for sure. I mean, I would love to obviously have that. I just completely disregarded it because if you're watching this movie, if you go back and watch it, it just looks as CGI as you could possibly get a spider. And I will say, because there was a scene when it bites him, I paused it. There is like a super zoom on the face of this spider biting into his skin. It's kind of crazy that it looks really good. Like, it looks like a really good shot.
Under the trivia, released in 2002, the year Spider-Man's 40th anniversary, genetically modified spider that bit Peter was not a Black Widow, but a Stetoda. I butchered that spider, which was chosen by Stephen R. Kutcher and painted red and black by Jens Schnabel, while the spider was anesthetized.
Wait a minute. They painted a real spider?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just don't think the one that bit him was real. Like, there were a lot of spiders that I thought were for sure real in the film, in that opening, that where they're in there looking at a bunch of spiders.
Yeah, I'm
not saying you can't have it. Again, if you want to have a dead spider shriveled up in your collection.
I don't want it shriveled. I want it looking like it did when I will admit it was CGI'd when it was like trickling down.
Yeah.
I don't
when
know
it crawled away.
All I know is that at some point there was a real spider that spider that they showed was painted. So that is what I.
So it's probably it had to be one of the ones that were in like the case, right? So they did like they wanted those ones. They didn't want to CGI 14 spiders. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So they probably did that for a lot of those spiders. But now we're in like could you select Air Bud if we did Air Bud? You know what I mean? Because that's like technically a living creature. Like how do we do that?
Okay, you are correct about that.
I mean, by the way, we're doing Air Bud now. I said it. We got to do Air Bud. I don't know what else you do.
We'll talk more about that.
Okay, yeah, we'll figure that out in the future. But anyway, no, you see what I'm saying, though. I mean, I'm just trying to. We're just talking it out. We're talking it out because this is kind of a monumental selection in the landscape of this podcast moving forward. Like, if we can select animals. I don't know. I mean, we're talking like horses. We're talking dogs. We're talking.
Does the fact that it was momentarily CGI'd, because at some point we are going to have to pick a prop that was at least somewhat CGI'd.
Well, as long as if there's a scene in the movie where it's actually like a physical prop.
Like which I think this spider was sort of like the never mind, I almost said the lion from Jumanji.
Well, there was definitely a CGI moment for that lion, but there also was like 3 different animatronic versions that are like you could pull up the receipts on. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But so it is what it is. If you want to pick that, that's fine. I mean, I can write down.
I kind of do want it.
All right. I'm not saying I'm going to go out just picking bugs, but I mean, like, it's a monumental selection for this movie. I mean, that is obviously a big deal to this movie. I'm just not sure how logistically you would display whatever it is you've selected. Like, how would you display this?
I would have it in a glass case like they did. I would have it in a glass case like dangling from one web.
Okay. So you're saying you want a dead spider painted.
Why do you keep going back to dead?
You want it alive? It's dead. I'm saying right now today.
It's
got to be like a prop.
I want it looking as alive as possible.
All right. I'm writing it down. This is all you. Okay, so you mentioned the sketches real quick. I had it on my list.
Mm-hmm.
I really did love those sketches, and they were like if you would have taken this spider's outfit, I probably would have gone back and forth between those sketches or the one I really wanted, Peter Parker's camera.
You wanted that, really?
I wanted the camera because I mean obviously away from the movie it just looks like a camera, right? It's just a camera. But to say, I mean, Peter Parker had it the very beginning of the movie. Yes. It was his only means of photography for Spider-Man when he's setting it up in the web and like snapping photos and stuff. he's getting the photos to Jameson that way. This camera propelled the movie, man. It was big. It was a big deal.
That's a good pick. I actually like the camera because I used one of those in high school. I got to learn how to use. That's why I learned photography on.
Yeah.
So it was nostalgic looking at that.
So yeah, I thought that was a big deal, especially right out the gate when he's being a weirdo and he's like, "Can I get a picture for the paper?" And everybody's just bumping him like an asshole.
Yeah,
just thought that was stupid. Anything else on your list?
The Daily Bugle pages were actually all they showed like 4 of them.
Right. I wrote down a couple of those, and it was either the one where it's like, who is Spider-Man? And it was the question mark, that was one of the first ones. And then there was a wanted one where it was a picture of Spider-Man on the front, and it was like, we want them. You know what I mean? Like, we want him for questioning. Like, they were going to arrest him. Yeah. And they decided to display that on the front of the Daily Bugle. I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Aside from that, the one thing that I feel like I definitely wasn't going to pick because I already got the Spider-Man suit. The suit at the end where it's all shredded to bits in that fight with the Goblin, that's up for grabs. That's there.
Yeah. That was actually... Oh, wait. So I'm on a movie prop website.
You're still trying to find this. You're getting to the bottom of it.
There is a spider box screen used from the scenes at Columbia Research Lab where Peter becomes Spider-Man. Original prop, a spider box with a spider in it.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, I think what's really threw me off is the spider that bit Peter is what you said. But a spider box with the spider designed the same design. Yes. That makes more sense. I just know for a fact that spider that dropped down on his hand was not real. Like it was.
They anesthetized it. They trained it. What do you mean?
Oh, and they got this super, super close like CGI. Apparently not CGI, but the face shot of the freaking thing biting his skin.
It was a trained spider. Okay.
That was it. I mean, that's all I had on my list. So I picked the original Spider-Man suit. You got Green Goblin suit, which honestly I think looks cooler. But it's a freaking Spider-Man film. I can't not pick Spider-Man. I took the glider though, so we're gonna have to like move in together so we can display.
I'm fine with
Goblin that. On the... Okay, cool. You got his bomb, so really we're just picking apart the Goblin. I think this whole movie...
This Propcast was just like, okay, what can we get from the Goblin? Like,
we're just
what do you...
parting them out. Yeah. I took the human spider outfit where he's fighting Macho Man Randy Savage, Bonesaw, I should say. And then you picked, which I guess that's going to have to be, you got the case with the spider in it that bit Peter Parker that made... Spider-Man that made Spider-Man made Peter Parker suicidal. I mean, let's be honest. He really just didn't want to live.
I like to think of it as I made Spider-Man.
You did. Yes. You are these. Yes. You. No, I can't agree with that. That doesn't make any sense. I'm going to the propstore.com real quick. I just looked it up. The original Spider-Man, the movie that we just did, there's only one thing up that is available on this website where you can buy. If you haven't checked it out, propstore.com, it's an amazing website. We go and we check out every movie that we do to see what is available. Maybe you could buy something that was actually screen used or just a production piece. There is a Daily Bugle. There is an actual Daily Bugle newspaper that's available right now. It appears to be 995 doll hairs. You can buy it right now. It's a no-brainer, not even an auction. But on the front it says Toast of the Town. It's got Willem Dafoe. It says rich deal with China will bring $1 billion in trade to New York, and it's got Willem Dafoe like must have just made a deal. And then under it says Spider-Man Mania Grip City. So he's got the Spider-Man's the undercard of this, as they haven't. This is obviously before they've gotten photos of him. He's not become the crazy sensation yet, but he did get front page bottom billing now, so that's pretty cool.
I have a question. One thing I expected to be on one of our lists, I was under the impression that there was a giant painting of Norman Osborn sitting in a chair. Like, I vaguely remember Norman having a painting of himself sitting in a chair.
Norman's,
was that in this?
I don't know. His home had so much stuff. Like, and we're talking like a lot of masks. And honestly, I wanted to write down one of the masks. I didn't know how to describe it because there were at least
the tribal
30 of them. No, one of them was like specifically weird. Like it had like it was almost like they made a goblin head and then like broke it down like the anatomy of it. You know, like you have like a human head and it's like you can see the eyeballs and like that. There was one of those, and it just didn't look like a natural. It wasn't a human head. It wasn't an animal, any animal I could recognize. But it just I have to pull up the picture of it and show you. But obviously it doesn't work right now. But anyway, I almost wrote that down, but I had no idea how to articulate it. And again, I've just wasted a minute of your life trying to articulate it. See, that's why I didn't get drafted. Anyway, that's pretty much all we got. That's all that was on the propstore.com for the Spider-Man. But if you want to check that out, you can obviously own a piece of Spider-Man history. Luckily, there were a buttload of these movies and a lot more Spider-Man after this original trilogy, and there's still Spider-Man going on to this day. If you haven't seen No Way Home, I highly suggest you go put that in your retinas right now.
Yes, definitely peak Spider-Man.
I mean, I would just open. I mean, I would open your eyes all the way. I wouldn't like just buy a ticket and then like creep around the corner like that sounded, but. Definitely take it to your face. It was the first time I had been to the movie theater, I think, since Infinity Endgame.
Okay.
Actually,
I saw Shang-Chi in the theaters.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, we have a baby, so it's like we're really restricted on when we can take this opportunity. And it had been a long time. And I love watching movies in the theater. That's ideally I would watch every movie that comes out in the theater. But we haven't been able to do that lately.
I've got one last thing before we go, Doyle.
Okay, all right.
This movie gave us our very last payphone scene for quite a while.
Okay, you're right. I did. I saw it. I saw the payphone again, and I was like, it's just not a movie that we've done if there's not a payphone in it. I feel like every movie we've done has a payphone in it.
This is our final payphone scene for quite a while. So everyone at home, I hope you're ready for movies that are a little bit more advanced now. We're stepping into the future.
Yes, so look at this is our second movie we've done that's even in the 2000s, right? But yeah, we're going to get a little closer to reality. I guess I should say a little more common. Well, I guess not common, but you know what I mean. Modern. That's the word I was looking for.
I got you.
Yeah, we're super excited. We have a lot of new movies obviously coming out. I don't know if we'll ever actually do. I'm not going to say ever. We probably will do like a super new release. Like I would have loved to go to the movie theater and do Spider-Man, like this Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
A propcast about that. And I think we'll be able to do that sometime this year. I promise it. 2022, we're going to do a new release, and I'm not sure what it's going to be. We'll have to figure it out.
And if you guys anticipate one, like if there's a new release that you're hot for, let us know and we could prep for it.
Yes, and also I don't know if you know we have a Patreon page. I'm not trying to shill for money, but listen, if you go there, there is a tier that we will, no questions asked, do an episode on whatever movie you want. Again, it can't be pornographic or whatever, and we want to be able to talk about it without upsetting our mothers.
We got children watching this.
Yes, of course. That's a big part. My baby watches it. She's 1. She has no idea what's going on. And after about 10 seconds, she looks away and plays with her toys. But that's not saying that something bad couldn't happen in that 10 seconds, and we're not going to do it, all right? We're not going to offer it up. But again, you can check us out on YouTube. Search the Movie Propcast. Give us a sub on there. That'd be awesome. And at Movie Propcast on Instagram and on TikTok. We should probably talk the tick a little more. Tick the old talk a little more, but we'll get in there.
I could take some talks.
Yeah. We're gonna talk of Tuesday. TikTok Tuesday.
That was 2 days ago.
Oh no.
Oh no, that was today.
Yeah,
that was today.
It's today.
Yeah,
what are you doing,
it's
bro?
Taco Tuesday, baby.
It's TikTok Tuesday. All right, we're gonna get out of here. We're obviously intoxicated, but yes, in future episodes, this was fun. It's our first endeavor into an actual superhero movie. And honestly, this was a lot of people's first endeavor into superhero movies back then when it came out. So this is kind of cool. This is kind of cool. So
that was very sweet.
Yeah, it was. It was like a nice, beautiful moment we just had right there. Anyway, we're gonna go now. Tyler, it has been a blast, and I'm excited for whatever you nominate on the next episode, which is going to be starting right now, which might actually not be right now if you're listening to this immediately. But if you're listening to this 2 weeks after this released, right now it's starting. Here we go. All right, see you later.
Love you.
Okay.